Well, hey, everyone. Welcome to a preview of Learn with the Nerds. Brian, don't lie. I saw you dancing back in the green room to that groovy music. Hey, my name is Marshall Butler. I'm the marketing director for Pragmatic Works, and I'm joined today by Brian Knight, CEO of Pragmatic Works. And I got to tell you, Brian, we were at the Microsoft Power Platform Conference last week, and we were telling folks the topic that you're going to be covering this Thursday at 11 a.m.
You're
Eastern.
on. Go.
And folks were super excited about it. Why don't you go ahead and tell us about
We had a
the
media
topic
mix-up,
and what
but you're all
people
good
can
now, Brian.
expect?
Well,
Yeah.
as you probably mentioned before, the conference is all the new stuff is all about AI, right? It's a hot topic now for everybody in the industry. And it's revolutionizing the way we build apps,
You should be live.
how we build automations,
Our video's
and
playing right
how
now.
we can analyze data. So what we're going to show on Thursday is a whole bunch of demos around how you can make this practical inside your environment also. It's not just important just to have AI, but it's important to have practical AI. Stuff that you actually that will transform
Nate,
your
can you
business.
confirm?
So we're going to start by showing how to build apps
We had
faster,
a wrong.
how to customize those apps
video.
faster.
Yeah.
And these will be like the Canvas applications. We'll then cover how we can go through and even do things like Power Pages to write JavaScript for us, to embed like better liquid code, all sorts of cool coding around that. We'll show
And now we're really live. Sorry about that, guys. Welcome to this session from Pragmatic Works on the AI Builder. So that was a recording. We were trying to figure out in the system how to turn that off. I apologize. Good morning or good afternoon, based on wherever you're in the world. We see people from all around the world right now in the chat. We see people from as far as Ghana, all the way to the Middle East, as well as South America and the US. So welcome all you folks today. And we have a busy set of demos for you today. We have about just a few slides we're going to get into. And then largely today, we're going to focus on demos and how do we actually make actionable stuff with the AI builder. So let's get started. So with me today also, hey, Nate, let me go ahead and bring you just quickly on here. Nate is with my team as well from Pragmatic Works, and he'll be in the background answering a lot of questions. So when you see the word, Nate, what are you using today? Are you using Power of the People or are you using Pragmatic Works?
I should be logged in as Pragmatic Works.
Gotcha. So when you see Pragmatic Works, you're actually seeing Nate in the background. So thanks so much, Nate. Let me go ahead and just go back to that.
Thanks for having me.
And let's get started. So let me go ahead and share my screen real quick. There we go. So today, I had the wrong slide there, but it's all good. There we go. A little about myself. My name is Brian Knight from Pragmatic Works. You'll find my Twitter address here and my email address as well. I'm a Power Apps MVP, which basically means I produce a lot of content around Power Apps. I'm the founder of Pragmatic Works, where we do things around, we train around the stuff we're doing today. We cover Power Platform, and we also do Azure as well. I've also authored about 18 books on the topics, mostly around data, most of which nobody uses books anymore, but they use them to prop up desks that have fallen and those kind of things. And I blog at Pragmatic Works, and I do videos right here. Today's session, though, will have 20% more pumpkin spice in it because it is October after all. All right, so what are we going to discuss today? Well, we're going to discuss most of the products you see on the screen right here. We'll be covering the Power Platform and how we can use AI Builder as well as just ChatGPT, all the AI new features that are coming. Some of these features are days old. Matter of fact, I was preparing for this session on Tuesday, and Microsoft released the first feature we'll be showing today a little bit earlier. So it was kind of a neat option here that we did not expect to see there. So we'll be starting with Power Pages, building out a website around that. And we will be covering a lot of Dataverse as well. Now, what is Dataverse? Well, Dataverse allows Microsoft to own the platform from the data all the way to the visualization of that data. So Dataverse is a database. It's a SQL Server database behind the scenes with a bunch of Azure features built into it. But it gives us a lot of flexibility. So for example, for auditing, for things like security, it has built-in row level security, account level security, auditing, and it has column level security built into it. Also things like file attachments and those kind of things can easily be done there as well. So we'll be showing a lot of Dataverse because it allows Microsoft to create tables dynamically and things like that automatically inside there. Now, some of the AI pieces we'll be covering today do not require Dataverse, and I'll make sure I show you in those pieces as well. So for today, we're going to start a little bit out of order here, but we'll start, we'll be showing how to build a Canvas app with Copilot, how do you modify that app with Copilot, and also some of the new Copilot features. Copilot essentially is ChatGPT. Microsoft acquired about half of ChatGPT about 4 or 5 months ago now in this case, and you're seeing those components leak into all the Power Platform, including Power BI. Things like Word and Outlook and all that will be coming here soon as well. Matter of fact, the version of Windows I have now has Copilot as of this morning built into it also. We'll then show model-driven applications. And what is the AI experience there like? Well, the AI experience there is going to have, we'll be allowed to ask questions of our data. We'll also be able to increase the productivity with things like OpenAI there as well. So we'll show the Azure OpenAI and how we can automate things very easily. We'll start with Power Pages though first, and how do we build pages with AI, with ChatGPT, and how do we write things like JavaScript and Liquid inside of Power Pages, and then we'll also do Power Automate to build out automations, and also how do we integrate ChatGPT into our Power Automations as well, our flows. So that's our agenda for the day. Let me go and hop out here in my slides, and let's begin. So those slides were a quick one, but I also, Marshall has posted my crib notes that you'll find in the chat window. This will kind of help you get started, and it's not comprehensive by any means, but will at least get us started in the journey here. So here's my goal here. I want to start with Power Pages, and I'm starting here because what we're about to do may take about 5 minutes. So we're going to kick it off, walk away, do some other stuff, and then come back, and we'll see the progress of it being made. So our first step that you may have noticed, this is relatively new in Power Pages, is the ability to create new sites right up top here in this Start Building a Website with Copilot. So this top part right here is smart enough to recognize things like verticals, for example. So if I asked for it to create a new website for a nonprofit, for example, it will recognize that vertical in this case. All right, so a nonprofit organization called Soup Kitchen. This is my real soup kitchen here of Clay County to recruit, all right, volunteers and log their hours. All right, so something simple like that. When I hit go, it is going to start to use ChatGPT here, there it goes, to determine what type of website a soup kitchen might need. It builds, of course, builds my title right here, gives it a URL you're seeing down here, of course. And when I hit next, it's going to go out there and figure out what web pages we want next. So these web pages, as you can see here in a moment here, it's going to build out, hey, which ones, here's your site. If you don't like the site, you can hit try again, and it'll keep on going and finding different variations. All right, so this looks like a variation of template 1 if you've done Power Pages before. And again, I can hit try again, and it'll keep on trying to find different variations of this from a design perspective. If I like this though, I can hit next, and then we'll see a list of all the pages it's going to create. One for volunteers, one to log the hours, maybe one for donations because it is a nonprofit, an About Us page, and yeah, I'll stop there. So when I hit go, it's going to start about a 5-minute process here to create this site. So it's going to create the site with a template, and then it's going to overlay the content, the pictures, all those kind of goodies are going to go in on top of this website. Now, have you done any videos explaining the license types that are available? Yes, we have actually covered. We have a video we just did. This is the question from Paul here. And we covered a video on all the licensing aspects of Power Pages and Power Apps, and when do you choose each one. You'll find that video on our channel in case you're curious there also. What we're showing right now in Power Pages is it's basically licensed based on the capacity. So you license it based on how many users you think are going to come in each month, and then how many are going to log in each month. So it's a way of kind of deriving it that way. So again, we'll come back to this website in just a few moments, but what I want to show you next is how we can bring that into Canvas applications also. This should be almost done now, but I'm going to go ahead and hop out here and look at a Canvas page next. So for our next demo, and we'll come back to that first demo in a moment here, Quick question from Paul here: is Power Pages free? Of course, it is included in your developer account with Power Apps. So if you want to do that, you can stand up developer pieces. That's what I'm in right now. I'm in a trial right now environment doing this. However, if you have a developer environment, you can stand those up for free, but they cannot be used for production. If you want it for production, then it's going to require a license of some sort, a capacity. And you can find out more about that at powerapps.com or powerpages.microsoft.com. So when we go back over to here again, let me go back and build our next application. Now I'm at make.powerapps.com. This is a classic area that we would go to build out websites for Power Apps. So in this case, you'll notice that up top here, just like you saw last time, I have the ability to create apps this way instead. And I'm going to do that through Power. I'm going to go scroll down to my notes in case you are playing along, and you'll see some the ability to snag a quick description up top. There we go. So I'm going to pop that description in here, and I'm just going to ask it to build an app to track my projects. So most of these demos are going to connect, but this demo is going to be a little different. I want to go out there and track projects that people are proposing, the amount of the status of it, a short description of it, and the cost estimation of that project. So I'm going to go ahead and hit go here. Now what's going to happen is it's going to, because they own the whole stack, the Dataverse stack, it is going to start to look at the tables, and it's going to build a Dataverse table accordingly. Now, if I ask for, hey, build an app with my Pokemon types, it will actually go out there and find Pokemon and Pokemon, I don't know, and then bring those over here and actually show me real data. But because I'm asking for more of a generic example, it can't figure out, what I want to show. So it's putting this sample data in here. But here's some of the cool stuff we can do. I could go over here and say, add a column to track keywords. Here we go. Hit enter, and it will go out there, build that column, and include that column in my data set here also. We can also go through and see the different data types and view the columns, reorder those here. Here's my keyword column. I can even ask for it to create more records. So create 10 more records. So when I hit go this time, it's going to go out there, and we should see at that point 15 records versus 5 records. So it allows it, we can even say things like remove a column, add a column, rename column, change data types. In some cases, you can do that here also. So it's a really easy way to produce this information for you. Now, a good question here from, most are licensing questions today, aren't they? We had a good question here from Rafiq here, Mr. Rafiq. Do Office 365 users get Power Platform Copilot licenses covered? Well, in this case, it depends. In this case, again, makers are always free in Power Apps if you use a developer environment. But in this case, because I'm ultimately creating a Dataverse table, it is not included in your Office 365 license. Some of the features, though, are included, which we're going to see in a moment here. So yes and no to your question. I'm going to hit create an app, and let's go hop back over to our website to see what the website looks like. So by the way, the app is creating right now. Let me go back here again. So we'll see this app will be created. It will take about 30 seconds, a minute to create this app also. Let me go ahead and get that one off the screen. Here's a good question. Can I default Copilot in Power Apps to default to SharePoint list instead of Dataverse? Unfortunately, Rod, because at this time, that's a goal down the road. But at this time, because they want to own the whole platform, as far as owning the database, it's much easier. They can take some shortcuts right now. The goal of what you said there to have a SharePoint list might be coming down the road also. However, right now it is only using Dataverse from this particular example. Now back to Mr. Rafiq's question. On the right here, you'll see Copilot here as well. We'll come back to that in a moment, and you're going to see how this integrates into the Canvas experience, and that is available to you now, even if your data source might be SharePoint. So hopefully that answered your question. So 2 good questions here, a lot of good licensing ones there. All right, so here is our website we created a little bit earlier. Now you'll notice in this case, website looks just like what you saw before. It has some stock images already in here. We've got a page for logging hours and for About Us page and then Donate page. Now, if you're not familiar with Power Pages, this page that we're seeing, this app that we're seeing here, when I hit publish, it is going to push this out there to the web to where even if I open it up, you guys could even access it. Now, in this case, it's only available for privately right now, so it won't work right now for you. But when I hit preview, it basically flushes the cache and reloads the cache, and then allows me to kind of start to poke around and see this. Now, just like you saw before, this website may have taken me a long time to create before, but now it's ready to rock and roll. Now, I want to do a few more things in Copilot, though, to show you how AI can all integrate here. So you'll notice Copilot, I can create new pages on the right here and ask for it to build a new page for tracking donors or whatever, and it will build that page. All the descriptions, all the stock photos will be created for me. But in an effort to save time here, I'm going to go over to the log hours area here. And I want to, this is a real example, by the way. I run a soup kitchen on weekends with my wife. And one of the things is that when the teens come there, they want a sheet of paper saying that they volunteered X amount of hours. So it helps them with scholarships and those kind of things, in the state of Florida at least. So I'm going to create the ability for these teens to go and self-service that, to log in and to get that information, to go ahead and put the information inside of here. But in addition to that, we're going to make sure that we build a Power Automation to automatically send them a thank you letter after that. So let's see how we can do that. So I'm going to hit the little plus button right here. I'm going to add a new section. Okay. And then I'm going to click on form in this case to create my new form. So in my case, I'm going to go ahead and log a form. I'm going to cheat here again by copying and pasting. There we go. Now, the thing is, if yours looks a little different, that is completely fine. I ran this example over and over and over again, and I got different web pages every time, and different websites, and different forms every time. So when I hit go here, I'm going to say create a form that to log your volunteer hours, and I'm specifying the columns here also. So part of the challenge is getting as specific as you can. I want an age column, a number of hours, and the description of what work was done as well. So when I hit go here, it's going to go out there and again, build the data verse table. I did make one mistake here. It's going to build the data verse table and the form. The mistake I made is I forgot to tell it what solution I want to go to. And a solution in the Power Platform allows me to package my stuff up and migrate it from environment to environment. So we're noticing here, I've got a description. I've also got things like notes here. So I could say, you know what? I have a description column. Why do I need a notes column? So I can say, remove the notes column. Hit enter, and it will go out there and remove that notes column. I also have my age. I have my number of hours and description. And in a moment here, we'll see that notes column will disappear also. It will say the form's been updated, and then we're off to the races. So you never know as you're doing this how long it might take. ChatGPT sometimes can be a little bit slow sometimes on the uptake there, but there we go. Notes is now gone. And we can ask for other things as well, like remove the contact fields, or I can even ask for remove any field that has contact info in it. When I was trying that earlier, it was smart enough to recognize and remove things like the phone number and the email and all that. But again, individual results may vary. And as you can see, this is still preview. So just a heads up. So when I hit OK, it's going to produce that data verse table to store the data and that form to enter the data. So pretty awesome. So give it a few seconds. Again, this always takes a little while in this case to do these things. And then in a moment here, we're going to have those two pieces. Our only step we're going to have to do is grant people access to that form or that data in that case. Like, should they be able to access this or not? So here we go. And you're noticing I get a new permission button right here asking me, do I want to grant people permission? Because right now, nobody has rights. So when I hit new permission, I'm just going to go ahead and say, yep, I'm going to allow anybody to create a new volunteer hour. So I'm going to say anonymous people, that is okay to create data at least. Again, your results may vary. It's giving me a warning saying, hey, by you doing this, anybody can now enter data. Are you sure you want to do that? So it's giving me a warning saying, hey, dummy, are you sure you want to do that? But now that we have that, looks pretty good. I should be able to preview this. And by previewing it, it's going to flush the cache, reload it, And in a moment here, I think it's still loading up. Maybe not. I'll go to volunteer log hours. Okay, hopefully that's it. And then we'll see our new form in action. Now, there's some things that I want to be careful of with this. Like, for example, there's my form right here, so I can put, whatever. Let's imagine I have a 3-year-old who did whatever. If I hit submit, it will now insert that data. But let's imagine, for example, that your requirement was that nobody under 12 should be entering this form. It should only be people that are adults or at least teenagers to be able to enter this data in. That's my next goal. Is I want to make sure I restrict this form to only 12 if you're above 12 years old. So again, I mentioned before also that I made a mistake. What mistake did I make? Well, the mistake I made is I should have put this new table into a solution. The way I could have forced that from the get-go is I could have hit the little gearbox icon and chosen a solution that I want to put this in. And by doing this, any new table would be thrown into this Learn with the Nerds demo solution. So that makes it easier to move around. Now, by doing this now doesn't mean this table's in a solution, just means that any future stuff will be in the solution. And I need to basically go retrofit that later if I want to migrate this to production someday. All right, but let's get back to our topic here. I'm going to go back to Pages here. And when I select my little area down here, I can see I have my form. I'm going to hit Edit Code. And I'll say Open Visual Studio Code. This is the way we can open up Visual Studio Code to see the back end of what's driving this website. So give it a few seconds. It's now signing in. There's all my data. I'm going to hit Try Copilot right here as well in Power Pages. And I'm off to the races. So to do this validation of this form, to make sure that nobody under 12 can put they can't log hours at least in there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here to my Visual Studio interface here, look for the form. So I'll go over to Forms here. See up here, Basic Forms. There's my form. And notice it has a little JS icon next to it, meaning this is JavaScript I'm looking at right now. So now, if I go to the left here, you'll see the little Copilot icon. And I can ask a question here. And let me go ahead and just ask that question easier here. I'm going to copy and paste to make it where you guys don't have to watch me type all this stuff in. Okay, so I'm basically asking for it to write some JavaScript. There we go. To monitor, to look at, to validate the age column is always greater than 12 years old. Now the key here is when I edit the field. You have to be very careful how you word this. If I did not put the word edit the field or change the field, I'll hit the go button right now, it might have waited for people to hit submit button. By saying the word edit the field now, it actually is looking at this. Okay, so there's my code right here. And if I like it, I can do copy and paste it or hit this little button right here and it will merge it into my JavaScript file here. So what it's done here is, again, the key is when I edit the field, by doing that, it's using this function that you're seeing down right here. When somebody changes this age column, so it's got a funky name here, but that is my age column. That's the logical name for age. When somebody changes that age column, fire off the validate age function, which goes up here, and it takes the age, localizes it into a variable, and if it's less than 12, it's going to pop up an alert that says X, Y, and Z. Now we can also go through and merge some other code in here. I can say I want some code to wipe out that column upon that. So you can actually ask more information here as well. We could even ask, there's some great examples they have here. It's like write some JavaScript for field validation, check phone numbers. There's one for doing liquid code. Like for example, if I go over here and I ask for write some liquid code, and liquid, by the way, is the coding language behind all this. It is, when I go back over to my form here, some of the stuff you're seeing in here is liquid code. So for example, okay, where'd it go here? Okay, I'm not seeing any in this one. It's in here somewhere. It's just off the screen here in this case. But if I had some liquid code in here, you would see it inside of here. So I can say write some liquid code that shows the word log in when I'm in the anonymous web role, something like that. And it will actually write the liquid code, and you'll see what it looks like over here. There we go. So my friend Nate in the background here was having one of his jobs not first jobs, one of his most recent jobs before this was writing liquid code. And Nate will tell you it can be challenging to learn. So by popping this in here, I can basically pop this anywhere I wish, and if the person is not logged in, it will now show that new code. So liquid code, HTML, some bootstrap stuff, all that can be done inside of this. So if you're newer to coding, you can use this to learn, and you can use it to cheat in many cases, like I did in my case. So you can do some really, really cool stuff. So once you're done, just go ahead and save your solution. See the little white dot there means I have not saved it. So I'll hit Control S to save it, which then goes out there. My white dot goes away. I'll hop over to my design studio and hit the sync button, and that code is now in here. Now, what did that do? Well, behind the scenes, what it's done is it's put some code behind the scenes on the form. We can see that code in portal management by hitting that little 3 dot here. And in the back office now, we're going to see that JavaScript code when we go and find that form. So whatever is easier for you, you could have pasted it in there, or you can go to forms here, like we see here in basic forms. I'll find my form. It's the same form you saw before. There is my one right there. And if I go over to additional settings, you'll see the same code down below. So when I pasted that code in there, it basically is pasting it into the screen right here. So it's one and the same. Let's test drive this now. I'm going to go ahead and preview this site. Okay, and when I preview, it gets flushing to cache, so it takes about 30 seconds when I preview. And when I go over here, just pop my name in here, whatever. I'll put my age is 11 years old, and then it gets a little pop-up message. Of course, you can show this other ways. You don't have to do a pop-up message. You can put a message right underneath it. Just depends on how creative you want to be. But this is an early way of doing these pieces here. Awesome. So Power Pages, as you saw, we built a site in 20 minutes. We have a form built in 5 minutes, and we have the JavaScript done in 2 minutes. So that process may have taken you a lot longer before. And it may not be the prettiest site, but it's a great starting point. Now, what if I want to do some stuff with those volunteer hours? Again, this is a real example here. This example, we want to go through and make it where whenever Shane or John or whatever submits their volunteer hours, we want to send them a thank you letter because of that. All right, to thank them for the volunteer hours, but not only send a thank you letter, but make it contextual based on what they've done in these volunteer hours. Okay, so they say they rake leaves. I want to thank them for raking leaves and make it sound like it's not a form letter. Well, ChatGPT the rescue on that one, right? And Copilot the rescue. So our components we're going to use here are going to be AI Builder. We could also use OpenAI if you wanted to as well. AI Builder makes it where I don't have to go and build a license. So in other words, when I go over to AI models here, you'll notice one of the new models that's in here. I kind of scroll down here. All right, let me go ahead and just turn on my zooming here so you guys can see this a little better. There we go. So you'll notice one of the models here has GPT integration. There it is. So this guy right here is what we're going to use today. It is preview. So again, our options are, we could have used this guy right here, which means I don't need any kind of API keys or any of that mess right there. Microsoft's done all that work for me. It's going to use AI Builder credits instead, which you get with each of your licenses. Or I could have used OpenAI or the Azure OpenAI. So one of those 3 options you can do. The benefit of OpenAI, the Azure OpenAI, if you use that connector, it allows you to introduce your own data into this. So if somebody asks for a PTO request, you can respond with the company's PTO policy because it knows your PTO policy in that case. For those that are not American, PTO is for time off, basically time off, paid time off. So let me go over to my solution and let's create a new workflow, a new Power Automate to essentially send a thank you letter to these people. So I'm going to go to new and I'm going to create an automation, Cloudflow automation to thank them for their hours. We also, the same way I've been building apps and pages, we can also do for inside of Power Automate. And I'll show that in a moment here as well. So for our flow name here, let's just call this send thank you note. All right. and this is going to be on Dataverse. There we go. And we care about when a row has been added. So when a new volunteer rows has been added, then we're going to trigger this to fire off. Okay, so it's going to sign me in to Power Automate. All right, so I mean to Dataverse, excuse me. Waiting for that to happen. All right, and when you want things to be fast, it never is fast, right? Because you guys are watching me, right? Everybody look away. It's going to go ahead and go much faster now. All right, so come on. One note here, you'll notice right below it, connect with service principal. This is where you can create a service account and have it run your Power Automations as well. So that way it's not running with my account, it's running with a service account instead. By now it should be well underway here, but we'll kind of keep on going here. Now, while this is doing its thing here, I'm not sure why it's taking so long. There it goes. We'll go ahead and point over to when a row is added. And I want the table is going to be volunteer hours. Just type in VOL and it should find it. There it is, volunteer hours. The scope is going to be organization, which means when anybody creates that record. I'm going to leave the advanced options alone today, and I'll hit new step here to create our next new step. For our next step, I'm going to go over to AI Builder, and we'll see a whole bunch of AI Builder stuff out of the box here for us. Again, you can also have gone back and you'll see an OpenAI connector as well. There we go. So you'll see a whole bunch of ChatGPT. Let me go back here. GPT. There you go. You'll see some OpenAI connectors right here that you can use as well. But let's use this. Let's use this create text with GPT. Okay. And then we'll build a prompt next. Now, again, I'm going to cheat here, and I've got a prompt already done here. Let me go ahead and pop this in. But this is the art of GPT, right? It's really getting the right kind of prompt. So in my case, I'm going to create a personal thank you letter, thank you email body. I had to do this over and over and over again. I practiced, by the way, under create prompt. When I did that, I basically kind of went back and forth and created some text and told it what I want to do. And it basically kind of tried over and over again until I got the right kind of combination here. So in this case, create a personal note from the email body with a subject, with no subject. Otherwise, we'll actually create a subject line also for us. And I'm going to look for the person name now. So let me go ahead and volunteer, I think it is, the volunteer's name. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the volunteer name. Make sure you have some spaces around that, otherwise it can get a little goofy. For a volunteer, with subject to this name, for a volunteer of Kitchen of Clay County that volunteered X amount of hours. Let me go ahead and find that. There's my hours volunteered right there. Boom. All right. Make sure to put my spaces around that on whatever date. For my date here, here it is. With the below work they did, target this to a blank-year-old. So I'm going to go ahead and look for their age and put that age in here as well. The cool thing I found here, by the way, is if I had a 88-year-old volunteer, it would talk about that in glowing terms. So I'm targeting an 88-year-old, its writing style changed, you found. Versus targeting a teenager, its writing style was much more casual. It's really, really pretty cool. So I'm going to change out my this right here you see in the bottom with the description of work they did. There we go. And that should do it for me. Now, here is the interesting part about this. Again, create prompt will allow you to kind of practice this. Now, the interesting part about this is you'll notice that I have my little flow checker here lighting up here. And what it's telling me is you cannot use this component right here without having some kind of approvals in here. You don't want ChatGPT to send out just letters randomly from you and just thanking volunteers without your approval first, because sometimes there's this notion of hallucination where ChatGPT might hallucinate and think you did X and talk about Y instead. It's pretty rare now. It's getting better and better, but you just want to make sure you kind of watch out for that stuff as well. Now, a question here, can we export the solution to a production environment? If so, does it need to be a service principal? So you can absolutely export this using solutions from dev to QA to prod, and you can then point to whatever service principal you want in each environment. You just got to go ahead and create those in each environment. It's called SSO. You'll go up there in the environment admin tool, and then from there you'll see it right here. Let me just kind of quickly show you here so you can kind of point There we go. When I go to my environment to create these service principals, and you don't have to create these, but it's definitely a good idea in case Brian were to lead the company. So this guy right here, Learn with the Nerds, on the right side, you'll see your service principles right here. So there's a few steps to doing that outside of scope of this, but this is where you can create those in each of your environments. All right, so what it's telling me is I need to approve each of these. So I'm going to create a new step. I'm going to search for approval. There we go. And this is a fairly new item here. Start and wait for an approval is what we've seen in the past, but I want to do start and wait for an approval of text. So when I select this, it's going to send me an email and say, hey, do you approve, this is the title of the email, this thank you letter. All right. The suggested text is going to be the text that came from ChatGPT. It's assigned to me. I'll put my email address there. All right, perfect. The details, you can put whatever body of details you want. It's not really needed for this, but it could be extra information that you want to share with the approver if you want. You can also put things like attachments and all those kind of goodies in here. And do you want to allow them to reassign this to somebody else in case they're gone on vacation or whatnot? So now that I have that, I need to go ahead and say, if it was approved, send the email. Otherwise, throw it away. So I'm going to do a new step, and it's going to be a condition step. Okay, whoop, there it is, control and condition. So if the outcome of you doing this was approve, so I'll go over down here, you'll see outcome. So see, it kind of matches what we have above this. So if the outcome of what that user clicked on was the word approve, then it's going to go down the green box. Otherwise, it'll go down the red box. So for that green box, I'm just going to send myself an email. All right, I'll use the Outlook connector. Okay, and I will send an email. Perfect. And I was going to send them all to me right now, but of course you would have it go to the volunteer instead. So there we go. So right now I'm going to have it go to myself. But ideally, you would go to the volunteer. Thanks for volunteering. All right. The body of the email, make sure you don't pick the ChatGPT one, but you want to look down here and look for not response comments, but approved text right there. The approved text is the text that was actually approved by the individual. There we go. Of course, you can put whatever other text you want into this. Let's go ahead and save it, and let's test it on our Power page next. I'm going to go ahead and test this bad boy right here. All right, let that save, and then test. And while we're doing that, looks like we have a few questions here. One is, all right, this is from Rod. Is Copilot intuitive enough to create a flow that would be integrated into SAP into a SharePoint list? I have found, Rod, that it is freaking really smart. So I'm going to do one of those in a moment here so you can see. I have not tried it with SAP. I have tried it with other things like SharePoint, and it is smart enough for SharePoint. I have not tried it with for this in Power Automate here, for example, for SAP, but I imagine it would be. So just based on what I've seen so far. It's a great question there from Rod. Keep them coming. And Nate, thanks for answering those in the background also. So let's go ahead and hit the test button, and we'll go have a test run in the background here while we do our thing. All right, and our thing is going to be to add a few records into this. So there it goes. It's waiting for me to go ahead and kick this off now. I'm going to go back over here again, and I'll put some real data in here. We'll call this Justin, who's sitting across me right now, as an 11-year-old who has, we'll give him, Justin, you've been very generous this past week, 120 hours. And I'm thinking, let's see here, you fed the homeless. Okay, and I don't know, cleaned up the facility. We'll go with that. Okay, and I'll put 45 meals in here so we can we'll quantify that fed and delivered. How we do that? Okay, cool. The date, we'll put whatever random date we want onto this. That window, I just know that's being used by the flow, so I got to make sure I use that. Nothing else is important other than I think that was it. Date, number of hours, age. That should be good. And I'm going to make sure I spell that correctly. And that should be good enough. Let me go ahead and submit that now. I can't remember if I had anything else in there, but I think that was it. All right, so off it goes. Let's go hop over to our Power Automate and see what is happening here. So hopefully in a few seconds, it takes usually about 15, 20 seconds for it to recognize there's a new row out there. And then, oh, there it goes. I already heard my phone chime next to me, or the PC chime next to me, waiting for approval. So in my other email inbox here, I heard my phone told me it was there. There it goes. I heard my phone do it again here. I'm getting a Teams message, I'm getting an email, and I'm getting my phone lined up because it had the Power Automate app. So we can see here, if I kind of select this, what kind of email it did here to Justin. And I'm waiting for the email to come in. I have not seen it yet, but I've heard it on my inbox, but I have not seen it come in. All right, anyways, we can see what's going to be sent in here. And I'll just kind of paste this into, oh, there it goes. All right, I knew it was coming in here eventually. Here's what I got in my inbox here. And this gives me a chance here to go through and make any changes that I want. So first of all, this is right inside of Outlook. Hope this email finds you well. Thank you for volunteering, yada, yada, yada. And especially considering that you're 11 years old, at the age of 11, I thought I put that validation there. So it actually was smart enough to actually recognize his age. Oh, I picked the wrong column for this here. Remarkable X amount of hours. I put the number of hours. I should have actually put the number of hours in there. And then as I go down, your work for feeding and 45 meals for the homeless, along with cleaning up the facility, has made a significant impact, yada, yada, yada. So it's actually smart enough to glow about the right things here. And talks about making the world a better place. I'm honored, and so on and so on. Once again, so it's a pretty cool letter. So when I hit approve, I'll go ahead and put my comments in there, hit submit. And that gives me one more chance to change that letter at that point also. So if I wanted to, I could have put that letter in there. So what happened, my 12-year-old restriction there, is I accidentally opened up a cached window right there. So that's a great question there. I opened up an old window versus the new windows. That was my bad there. I should have opened up the other one. So, but that was my 12-year-old restriction there. But as you can see, we have the email, and then my email just lit up here. Now, we have not formatted any of this or anything, so I should format the email better, but there's my raw text of the email that just came in there. Pretty cool though, right? This allowed it to where a lot of the stuff I would do by hand, and I would spend 10, 15 minutes writing a letter to Justin, thanking him for his time, has been automated now. And it's a much better letter than what I would have written manually also. So that's why I love this from a Power Automation perspective. It really speeds things up. So awesome. Great questions that come in there as well. So a question that we got from, I think it was earlier there about Power Automate as well. You'll notice that when I go back to Power Automate, make.power automate, that we do have the same box up top. So we can ask for it to watch a SharePoint list, for example, or do whatever. So you can say, watch a Dataverse table called accounts, count the number of rows, and send me a Teams message daily. There we go. So what's going to happen here? Well, check this out. If I hit go, it's going to read my information here, and oh, there it goes. It's going to reoccur every day. So that's the daily part. It is going to, and this is how I would build it myself almost here. It's going to then list the rows, which basically counts all the rows. That step right there does a count. It's going to get my office profile and then send a message to me from my office principal there. If you can say that wasn't quite right, think again. You can go ahead and say this wasn't quite right, what I was looking for. And if I hit that button, it will try again until it gets it right. So when I hit next, it's going to go through and we're going to see the new interface for Power Automate here as well. So when I hit create flow, there we go. This is the new interface they're marching towards right now in Power Automate. And I can ask for more information on the right here in Copilot, but now all I have to do is point to which tables. Oh, it actually got the table. That's the first time it's done that for me. Usually it has not been getting the table for me. So it's going to read the count table, then go over and get the length function to count how many rows there are, get my profile, and then post a chat to, it's going to post it as, I'll go as Flowbot here, and it's going to post it in let's go chat with Flowbot. There we go. So there we go. So if I save that, oh, and I have a bug here right now. It's actually because I did not put the message in here. All right, there are, and I should put a little dynamic button here. Boom. Sometimes it does a better job than others. And if I'm looking for the compose step right there. That should do it. And of course, the recipient, I put whatever recipient I want on this as well. And sometimes it kind of hallucinates and invents new steps that I don't want also. But this is and of course, you could do a lot more stuff around this as well. But really neat stuff you can do inside of here. So this is how we can basically create new. This is to Rod's question earlier about how do we integrate things like SAP and all that. Now to Rod's question, let's give it a shot real quick. Why not? All right. So we can say create a flow to synchronize to pull data from SAP into SharePoint. Something like that. Let's just see what happens. Oh, party foul there, Rod. Sorry about that, buddy. So it looks like it's not like in the SAP, if I had to guess there in this case. So I didn't see why it wouldn't work, but I obviously does. All right, I had a few questions here. One of them was, how do you format that email text? The one that you saw with all that kind of smushed together text, the one you see right here. Well, what's happened right now, if I pull this over, is there is each of the line returns that we saw has something like this, /n/n, something like that. So we'd have to do a compose step that replaced those right there with a HTML tag, like a break tag instead. Because this is actually an HTML email that did not understand the carriage return line feed in this case. So you can absolutely format that. We didn't. It's not outside the scope of today, but yes, it can absolutely be done. Great question there. We also had a question, shouldn't we also note it was written by AI? That's a good ethical question there, Tina. That's up to the business unit of choice here on whether you disclose that it's written by AI or not. That's a great question. I'll let the experts decide on that one outside of my tech ability there. It's more of an ethical question there, I guess. All right, cool. So now that we have that, let's go hop back over to our studio that we were in earlier. So we've showed you an end-to-end, build a website, log the hours, send a thank you letter, as well as doing other things in there as well. We also wrote some JavaScript. Now we're ready to get over to our previous example where we created the app to log a project information. So what we're seeing here is we have the app that was created about 45 minutes ago now, I think, in this case. And we want to go through and add some additional stuff to this application. So this is where the AI builder for makers works no matter what the case. So no matter what kind of license you have, you can go over here and say, all right, add 3 buttons. And on the right side, when I type that in, you'll always find it right here in case you wanted to find it later. So as I do that, we're going to see 3 buttons are dropped in. There we go. I can then move them around, of course. But if I highlight these buttons, make sure you have them highlighted or boxed as you're doing this. You can see which buttons it did here. You can say, change the color of those buttons to dark red. Hit enter. And it will go off the races here and do this again. All right, there we go. Look at that. So I'm going to delete that button for the time being. And there's one more step. Now, this created the table, but one of the issues I had were things like AI Builder is not intelligent enough to create things like lookup columns and some of the more interesting columns I wanted to do. I had some issues with that originally, at least. Now they're making it smarter every single day. But for this table, I'm going to right-click on this table and just look at the data and do a few more little tweaks on the data here. The tweak I want to do is I want to have a column called long description. Our project inception, I'll do long description, that's fine. And I want this to support multiple lines of text. In other words, a whole long project inception document. It'll be text, but I also want to make it where it supports a lot of characters, like 20,000 characters, something like that. So this is going to give me a lot of wiggle room to enter data. I'm going to save that. And my goal, I'm going to paste that long description from Word or from Adobe Acrobat or whatever it might be into this. And I want it to then summarize that down for my short description columns. So I now have the long description in here. I'm just going to add that field into this form really quickly here as well. I hadn't tried AI Builder for this piece, but let's go ahead and add it the old-fashioned way. All right, there we go. So now I have that new column now created, and I have it right here. Let's go ahead and paste in a long project open. It's actually a long scoping document here for our new headquarters. We just broke ground on our new headquarters last week. It's about 3 or 4 miles from here. I'm going to paste that in for project A. Oh, where'd it go? Oh, I hit the pencil icon. And there it is. So I've got this long, long document right here, bulleted list, talking about this flowing, foo-foo kind of stuff. We have this term in the South called foo-foo sometimes, as this long flowing doc talking about the project inception. Okay. So now I want to go through and use that document to get the keywords out, to get other information out of that I can use later. So let's get out of this and let's have it. Let's have AI Builder here, or a Copilot build a button. So build a button that has the label generate keywords. Okay, there we go. So it'll build a button, has the appropriate ones in here. Now, while it's doing that, we have a few pieces here, questions from and the audience. Can we use Copilot like Google Assistant or Alexa, voice enabled? You cannot yet. However, gotta think there's some stuff coming, of course. Now, if you have things like accessibility features, and you absolutely could do that. But right now, there's no easy way to do that quite yet. If you have accessibility, like screen readers and those kind of things, then absolutely. Other question we got is, does Copilot default to creating Canvas apps instead of model-driven apps? Yes, it does. However, I'll show you the model-driven apps as our last demo today also. So we'll show that as well. It's a great question. As of right now, all this stuff is contextual based on right now. And again, it's changing so fast. So literally, as I'm doing these demos, I'm seeing features added this week. So, and then they announced a whole bunch of stuff at the conference last week also. Let's just go ahead and move this button around. There we go. And let's create one more as well. Create another button. Oh, gosh. That has a label. And we'll call this short description. All right, cool. So this one generate a short title one here is also. All right, give that a few seconds and it should come in here as well. And as you can see, you can do a lot of neat stuff with this AI Builder right inside of here. I use it mostly for, oh, that's interesting. It shows a different button here. Oh, did I put button in there? Another button? That's not a button though, is it? No, it's a label. All right, no problem. Well, that's all right. I'll do the old-fashioned way. That's fine. Okay, there we go. It was so much harder, right? All right, so we'll call this button right here is going to generate a short description. All right, and the other one's going to generate some keywords. We're going to use AI Builder to do this. Now, a great question from Donna. They are adding a lot of this stuff into Power BI also. You're starting to see it as of last month, starting to creep into Power BI. More to come on that. This video does not have a whole lot on the Power BI front, but you will see that narration, all that stuff is going to improve very soon also. One of the coolest parts I saw, by the way, coolest demos, was in Power Automate. If you have a paragraph of product numbers and prices, it can pull all those out and build a JSON list or a comma-separated list out of that. So it can actually read the text, pull the critical information out, and turn it into usable data you can load somewhere else. That is a built-in feature in ChatGPT also. You'll see that in AI Builder. All right, cool. So let's go in here and actually make some use out of this. First thing I need to know is, what is this? This is called data card value 7. That's what this big text box is. That's where my data's at. So for my first one, our first trick, we're going to go ahead and grab out some code. You'll find this in my cheat sheet. I'll go over here and make the button do this. Now, what I'm doing here, oh, I forgot to add something here, first of all. I need to add a new connector, and we'll call this just, as I scroll down here, AI models. And what I'm looking for is create text with GPT. Same thing we used in the other one as well. And again, there is the AI Builder, there's Azure AI Builder, all that stuff's in here also. but by OpenAI builder, excuse me. But by doing it this way, I don't need to pass API keys back and forth and all that mess. It just makes it way, way easier. So now that I've got that, I'm going to change this from 8 to 7. And what we're seeing here is I'm calling this connector. It is a premium connector, as you can see in this case. And I'm going to say create some text with GPT. Okay, that's fine. And I want to go ahead and generate 5 keywords from the following, from this big text right here. And I'm going to go ahead and grab that variable that you see here, var keyword response, and I'm going to put that into my keyword element right here. So I'm going to go ahead, just for the time being, I'm going to go ahead and, now, we of course would want to propose it, not just go ahead and just accept it, of course. But so in order to do that, I'm just going to drop a text label in instead. And I'll put, these are my proposed keywords. So I'm going to use my variable name, var keyword response, and I'll do dot, and there's a text that came back from it. So when I hit generate keywords, give it a few seconds, and I should get some keywords in a few seconds. There we go. And it found 5 of them. And let me share the app so you can see a little better here. So we have one like Pragmatic works. Okay, we're a training company, headquarters building, and modern facilities and amenities. There we go. So that's the keywords it found from this large, about a 1.5-page document in this case that it found from this. If I want to go and generate a snazzy title for this project, I can do that as well. Let's do that next. So again, I'm going to use the same code that we did before. I'm just changing my prompts in this case. I'm going to change the prompt in this case to be, hey, create, what is the project title for this in less than 8 words? All right, let's try this. Hit the button there again, and let me drop in another label here again so we can kind of see the response from this. I'll put that label somewhere we can kind of see it. How about right here? And we'll call that var short response dot text again. And there we go. Oh, nailed it. So even though I got so much fluffy text in here, so much like verbose, like garbage, basically, we can see ultimately this boils down to we need a new headquarters building. So this is basically, bold it down for us. So there's some really, really cool stuff you can do with this for scanning things. You can use AI Builder to pull all the information out of a PDF, for example, and then boil it down right here and figure out, does this relate to any other projects that we've done before you go ahead and save the record. So lots of cool stuff that they can do now, and imagine what this is going to be like in a year from now based on how far they've come since the partial acquisition of OpenAI. That partnership is only 4 to 6 months old, and this is the stuff we're getting out of it in just a few months. All right, so guys, I can answer the question there. Okay, any ideas when Copilot will reach the GCC tenants? That's a great question. For those that don't know, GCC is the government cloud. I know it's coming, but I know it has to go through a lot more government regulations and security checks and all those kind of things before it can happen. So I don't have a good time on that. Microsoft would know better on that, but I imagine it's going to be a while, probably another, at least, I don't even speculate. It's going to be quite a few more months before we'll see that there. I know it's also coming to the European audience here very, very soon. They already be there for part of that. We'll see it they'll be lighting it up. They're having to install servers in each of their Azure data centers to support that. So they're trying to kick all the bugs out in the US with commercial tenants. And then after they kick those bugs out, you're going to start seeing that in all the different tenants here as well. So the GCC cloud should be coming very, very soon here as well. Okay, another question. Another question here. Any ETA when Copilot be available? I just answered that one. Yep, in other regions. So that is their major focus right now. Is they're having to install these servers for OpenAI in each of the major tenants around the world. And as they do that, each of those tenants have to be certified from the government, and they'll be showing those out there as well. These are not cheap servers, as you can imagine. They're all using these big old NVIDIA cards that are very, very fast. It's very, very costly from an expansion side. So I know it's coming for the European audience very, very soon. And for the rest of the world, it'll be coming, in phases here also. Okay, so we now have this app fairly close to doing some really, really neat stuff. Now, we had some questions about the model-driven side. So let's go deeper into model-driven app next and kind of show what can we do on that as well and what steps we have to do to turn on this. There is one more thing in the Canvas application I want to show first, though. The last thing, I'm just going to drop a new screen here just to kind of show this to you as well. So if I were to drop in, let me go over to this view here and create a new screen. And I'll just create a blank screen real quick. You'll notice there is also a new component under Insert, and it's called Copilot right here also. This allows your users to ask questions of their own data. So for example, if I point to, I don't think that table hasn't left enough data, I'll point to accounts here in this case. So I point to the account table, which has a little more data inside of it. And I go ahead and on the right side, you notice you can configure this to pass in different types of fields. You can customize the title of it if you wanted to. You can, this is brand spanking new, this Edit and Power Virtual Agent. This is new as of I didn't see this yesterday at least. So this is as of this morning for me at least. But you can pass in change the message here, say, welcome to me, and change my title from like Hello World, for example. And you'll start to see the left area. We'll take that into account when we start to come back to this next time. But when I play this, notice we can ask questions just like you have in Power BI for a long time. You can ask questions of it here, like, how many accounts do I have? Okay, and it will come back with an answer from that. There's a few little gotchas you have to do around this, but largely it's pretty darn smart. We can also, this is going to allow your users to ask questions of the data that you're producing and not have to build 80 million reports. Always a little faster than this, but you won't have to build all these reports anymore. It will make it much, much easier to build these by theory if it comes back. GPT is a little slow today, looks like. Okay, so I'll let it kind of think here in the background while we do this, but it's even smart enough to ask questions like, how many accounts do I have in this state? Or those kind of questions also. But for some reason right now, it's taking its sweet time. So I'll just go ahead and let it kind of think in the background while we move on. Now, the same thing we're seeing right here, the same thing we're seeing right here would also work inside of model-driven apps as well. We're going to show that next. But to do that, there's a few steps that we have to do to make this work. All right. So question here, we need to pay for Copilot starting November 1st, or will there be a grace trial period? Now, Richard, from my understanding at least, if the makers are intended, the stuff that we're seeing on the right here, the stuff right here, my understanding is that they're going to keep that as included in your maker account. That I could be wrong there. Licensing is always tricky, and that's been half my questions here. But that's what I was told a long, long time ago. We'll see if that actually sticks. Okay, so I'm going to give up on this Canvas one right now. It will eventually come back, and you can see here I can kick it. I can stop it from doing that right here and ask, how many rows are there in the account table, for example. So it should be coming back faster. Not sure what's taking so long, but it's important that as you do this, you can give it thumbs up and thumbs down, and they are reading that, and it's becoming smarter and smarter. If you're in IT, you can also turn off how much data is shared with Microsoft as well. So if I go over to the Admin Center, you'll notice under Settings here, if you're in IT, you can turn on Copilot here. Okay. But also a little bit lower down here is data sharing for this. So if I turn this on, Microsoft gets access to my questions I'm asking and kind of the context behind those questions. So you and IT can turn that on and off based on that. So I'm going to give up on this right now. It's not waking up, but you get the idea. All right, so model-driven apps. So before we go into model-driven apps, by the way, we have some cool training we're building around this also. You're going to find we have introduced about 30 free classes out there on our learning management system. If you go to pragmaticworks.com, you'll see a Start Learning button right here. And then once you sign in, once you create your account, you're ready to go. There's no credit card required to do this. You can go ahead and sign in for the trial. And I'm going to go ahead and log in instead because I've got some, I just want to show you what all the free stuff's at as well. I'm going to log in. There we go. Now, once you're in here, you're going to be able to see under categories, free for life. There's about 120 classes in here, but a large amount of those are also included forever for free, including all of our past events like this we've done. We got some app in a days, some dashboard in a days, and all those kind of classes here as well. We update this a lot. So this dashboard in a day has been updated almost 5 times this year. So it's a very, very active one. You can find those at pragmaticworks.com. And again, signing up for this and all the classes you're seeing on your screen right now are forever for free without a credit card or any kind of trial period. That's our community edition. And then once, if you decide to, you'll also see there's 120 other classes that are out there that are available for you as well. And we also do things like hackathons. We're doing a lot of AI builder hackathons right now where we teach you how to do this with your own data and your own problems. So it's not canned classes, it's your class with your own data. All right, so now we're ready to get into a model-driven application and kind of what can we do for model-driven apps. I want to show you 2 ways of doing this. And this is going to complete our demos after we do these 2 ways. So let me show you a really practical way. This is something that's really cool that I saw a component out there. So one thing we can do is we can ask questions of our data. And the other thing we can do is use ChatGPT to enhance our data. So what you're seeing right here is how we track what YouTube videos we're launching, when they're scheduled, all that kind of stuff is inside of here. Production notes, this is the stuff that our production team uses. It's actually a real example in this case. But what I want to show you though is this right here. See this component right here? This is not built in. We had to kind of use some stuff. I'll show you how we did this in a moment here. So what it's doing is it's taking the title that you see up top. So let me go ahead and just create a new one here. Okay. All right. I'll say a video on, how do we call this? Using AI Builder in Power Apps to enhance your data. Like that. All right. Now, if I hit this little button right here, it's going to pass in that title asking this question right here to produce YouTube hashtags as well as a video description from that title. That's half the problem I find is having to go out here and build these descriptions can take a lot of time. A matter of fact, the video you're watching right now the title and description of it came from ChatGPT, from this exact example you're seeing right now. I popped it in the system. I hit that button right here. I hit apply the response, and there I go. So here's a potential video of it. There we go. And this video, yada, 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 it looks pretty darn good. I'll just paste my keywords down to my tags. And that, to me, the hard part is not the video for me. The hard part is come up with a stinking video. Those 4 or 5 sentences describe the video. So this will, and you can even say like, clean this up or make it longer or shorter, and it will do this. So where can I get this component? This is using OpenAI, Azure OpenAI, or it can also use ChatGPT's API to do this. This is not using AI Builder like we saw before. This is using the built-in components. So the first step, I went out to pcf.gallery. And I searched for, show me anything that relates to ChatGPT. All right. Oh, I know I'm looking right at it right now. This is the bad thing about having eyes like mine without my glasses on right now. Oh, there it is right there, chatbot and ChatGPT. So once I found that, I found there's this one component here called OpenAI ChatGPT. And again, the full link is right here in case you care. Later down the road, you'll find that link right there. Okay. Now, there's pretty good directions here as well. But once you download it, you'll download the release right here on the right, and you'll install it as a solution. So you'll basically just install the solution into your environment. Once you do that, all I had to do is go into my classic mode. It kind of walks you through the steps right here. You can go into classic mode, and you'll see that right here. You'll drop it in, and there's classic mode right here, and you have to kind of wire it up at that point and point to your OpenAI API key or your Azure OpenAI API key. So one of those 2 spots you'll point to. I'm going to produce a video on this because it's a pretty awesome component that was built by a community member. So major props to this guy right here who who has produced that. And let's give him some props here. Oh, where's the name? Oh, I don't see his name in here, but he did an amazing job, and he deserves some big time credit for it. Here it is. Here's his name right there. So major props to him for producing that. All right, so that's one way we can do that. It's called AI-assisted columns. Now, there's another way we can do it as well. Let's find a way to ask questions of our data as well. So when I go over, my goal is to do this. Let me show you the end goal here. If hopefully it's a little smarter right now. I'm just going to refresh my page here, and you'll see now, I'm going to show you in a moment how we turn it on, but there's a new AI little widget that pops open right here. If you have Dynamics, you might find there's two AI widgets right now, one for Excel's Accelerator and then one for Power Apps. Now I can ask it really simple questions. So I can go in and ask like something like, total meals served, right? There we go. So when I ask it these questions, hopefully it's a little faster now than it was in the Canvas application. It might be having some quirks right now because all of us are trying it right now. I'm not sure. So what it's going to do is it's going to look at the columns here, and it found there's a total meals column, and it found that there were 3,900 meals that were served. So I could even ask it a question like, what were the total meals grouped by I'll say kitchen, for different soup kitchens in our community. When I ask a question like this, it's going to build back an answer that will group those answers and tell me how many meals were served by each kitchen. Now, doing this could be done in Power BI, of course. It could also be done in charts. But as you can see, this response was done with little or no work on my part. I'm going to show you how we produce this in a moment, because it does involve a little bit of work on your part in IT or in dev to turn this on. But this is a really, really cool thing to do. You can also ask questions like, what was the average total meals served? And it will tell me how much, what is the average amount of meat I need, or average number of pounds or gallons of soup I need, and so on and so on. So we can see, well, I got the answer wrong. So what we do is we give the thumbs down in this case. I had no idea how I got that answer. It's averaging it by some wacky thing there. But we could ask, what was the average pounds of meat? Try that one. So you can see just a visual. And it looks like it's probably going to be in that 7 or 6 range. And it got it right this time. I'm not sure why the total meals got wacky there. Probably because that word total is probably summing it up and then doing an average of the average. Something like that happened. But for average pounds of meat, it did get it right. So again, to do that normally, I had to bring it to a report and then solve that problem there. And it's done it all right in memory in this case. So how did I do this? Well, for the next 5-10 minutes, we'll show you how we can solve this problem in model-driven apps and in Dataverse. The first step we have to do is go to your admin center. Now, we've been spending some time in admin center already. There we go. Let me go over to my admin center. Short answer is this URL right here. You can go to my favorite URL for this is aka.ms/ppac, Power Platform Admin Center. You can also hit the gearbox in the top right at make.powerapps and go to the admin center that way. So there's about 3 steps we're going to have to do to turn this on. We're going to turn it on at the environment level. You see it's already turned on the tenant level. We'll turn it on at the environment level. Then we're going to turn it on the views that we're asking questions of. So the first step is to go to your environment that you want to turn this on in. So I'll go to my Learn with the Nerds environment where I've not done this yet. I'll then go over to settings, and I want to go to the product area under settings, and then go to behavior first. For behavior, you'll notice right now, the model-driven app release channel, we're on a twice a year kind of cadence. If I change it to monthly cadence, we're going to get all the new goodness here. So first step, change that release channel in this see the path right here. So go to settings and behavior and change it right there and go to monthly channel. Once you save that, that's the first step. The second step is we have to turn it on at a feature level. So go back to settings, go back to product, and then features, and we turn on the feature. That feature is right here. It is turned off by default right now. and that is for model-driven apps to also get that. And notice it actually gives you a clear answer right here that has to be on a release cycle of this. Now, again, these steps might change if you're watching this video in 2024. These steps might be a lot easier, but as of the time of today, in October of 2023, these are the steps. All right, so now we've turned it on. I need to save it. Now, by the way, while we're here, one of the cool things you can do also is turn on Dataverse searching. This allows you to go through and search n number of tables with one search box. So it makes it much easier to search Dataverse. I'm going to save this. And now that we save this, we want to go over to our table and turn it on the table level next. So that's now been turned on. Let's go over to our solution now. Oh, that's one still searching here. All right, I have a feeling that's not going to come back anytime soon. Let me find make.power apps. There we go. I'll go to my solution and we're going to turn it on there. So a great question from some of our folks here is this data going anywhere outside the tenant? It is. That's a great question. What it's using, it is staying inside of your Azure workspace. So it is not being sent over to OpenAI or anything like that. All your stuff is inside of your tenant in this case, using OpenAI stuff there. Okay, great question. That's one of the benefits of using that versus if you use, that's Azure OpenAI, but if you use the regular OpenAI API, you are sending your data out there in that case. With OpenAI also, Azure OpenAI, you can also enhance the data further as well. Okay, so now that we have that, let's open up our solution and go to our table. All right, there's my, there we go. Let's go to our table. And I'm going to add the table I forgot to add earlier, which was called volunteer, I believe. There it is. All right, let's just add that so you can kind of see it now. Okay, there we go. And now that I have that table, again, that's not a requirement. That's just something I forgot to do. And let's go ahead and look at this volunteer hours table. And let's go to view. Well, first of all, there's a few things we want to do here. Under properties, first of all, you'll notice one of the things you want to turn on under advanced options is track changes. The ChatGPT stuff, the Copilot stuff does need this turned on in order to query this table. Now, so that's the first step. I'm going to go ahead and save that. We can also, by the way, if you wanted to have the Dataverse search we talked about a moment ago, outside the scope of this, but just real quickly here, over here under this little icon right here, the overview icon, we can turn on Dataverse search for this table, but it's checking that option. And now I can search n number of tables, all of that one query there. Not required for this demo, but it's pretty darn handy. Now, this indexing might take some time. It might take about 20 minutes. So I'm not going to be able to, we won't be able to see the results of this in this video. But there's one more step we have to do to make this work. That final step is to go to our view for that table. And we'll tell it, give it some extra stuff to query. So I'm going to go to something called the quick find view. There it is right there. So quick find whatever your table name is. Select that, and on the right side, the bottom right, you'll see Find By. Go ahead and add any columns that you want to be extra evidence into this. So add your descriptions, your email addresses, whatever you want to add into this, and then whenever you're ready, hit the Apply button. Save and publish that, and then wait a little while for things to get indexed properly for that Dataverse search and all that. So after that, we're ready to go ahead and query it now. So this allows us to go ahead and ask questions of our data much easier. Track changes has to be turned on, and you turn on the feature in the environment also. So once this goes back, come on, there it goes. I can hit the back button, and then we're off to the races. We can start to query that data. So again, this is the model-driven way of using that option that you saw on the right here, this GPT option right here on the right. So lots of new stuff we can have coming up. There also, as you can imagine, the authoring pieces I'm sure will be coming here because their goal was to make it where anybody can build applications. So you're soon going to see a lot more movement on the authoring experience as well. They've already shown some previews of that at the conferences that they just did recently, the Power BI, Power Platform Conference, as well as in their blogs as well. So lots of good stuff coming down the road. So I think we're want to leave a little time for questions. So if you have some questions, please feel free to ask those now. And again, if you want to see more videos like this, please do subscribe to this as well and ring the bell so we can kind of find out when we have more videos like this. You can go to pragmaticworks.com to find out more information about our training as well. And I'm waiting for those questions to come in now. All right. Nate, were there any themes in the chat window?
Mostly licensing, lots of licensing.
Yes.
And also, we had a question that was starred. It was about if the data is in SharePoint or SQL, will the Copilot control in the app be able to answer questions about that data, or is it only Dataverse?
Okay, so it depends on which one. I showed quite a few of them here today, and I apologize for not answering when it came up earlier. If it was done in Power Automate, then yes, it can take the data from SharePoint or from wherever SQL Server and use that. Matter of fact, we're using that for some of our learning management system right now, ChatGPT, to do things like condensing the transcription of that down to a few words for search engines and whatnot. So yes, the data can come from wherever from Power Automate side, and you can use it for app construction in Canvas apps. However, if you want to build tables, it only works from a Dataverse side also. Okay, so but that said, who knows what's going to look like in a year from now? Also, I'm sure the SQL Server team has been asked to do some stuff around GPT as well. Thanks for asking that, Nate. Any other questions? So far, I'm seeing looks like we're pretty clean here. Let's see. I'm going to scroll down the bottom here and see. Wow, Nate, you've been busy here. 300 questions. All right. Of course, one of the questions we always get asked, is this recorded? It is absolutely recorded. In that recording, you'll be able to look at my cheat sheet and kind of copy the code over from that, just to change things like the data card names. They're not like really super pieces around that. All right. Well, okay, a lot more licensing questions here. The major tenet was, here's the question we got asked over and over again. Is there any cost behind this? Microsoft's major tenet was makers are free. So for you, they hope this will be a free experience from a maker side on the Power Platform. From an end user side, there might be some cost around it. Like you saw, that component was a premium component in the Canvas application. So that's a great question. Great question here from about Management Studio to write queries. Wouldn't that be great to be able to write queries for best performance in Management Studio with this? Nothing I can announce yet. However, you got to think that's coming, because one of the big key tenets of ChatGPT is code writing, right? And they know how to write T-SQL. So it'd be awesome to do that. Nothing we can announce yet, but you got to think all the teams at Microsoft are heads down trying to integrate this stuff in here. Great question here as well. Our answer to the cost there question. Okay. I think that's the bulk of the question. I used, formula suggestion. Oh, there we go. Sue said she used a Copilot for formula suggestion. Worked like a champ. Yeah, so that's where I'm getting the most value of, is using Copilot to learn stuff that I didn't know, like the JavaScript example, the Liquid example. And then once you do it, that's the biggest challenge, right? Most of our job when learning how to do IT is stealing code from other folks, right? Is going out and Googling stuff and getting stuff from Stack Overflow and all that. Now it will bring all that code and help you learn much easier here. Awesome. Well, I think at this point, it is available in US only right now. Yeah, is this available only in US regions? Yep, it will be available in other countries very, very soon. Microsoft has announced that it's coming very soon. They're just having to install those servers in those other regions here. So you'll see it on a country by country basis starting to light up. I know that I get a lot of questions from the Scandinavian folks. It is coming very, very soon. All right. Well, hopefully this gave you a great intro to starting using AI inside of your applications, your flows, and also in your Power Pages. If you have any questions after this, we'll be watching the comments down below and answering questions down below after the session. But thank you so much for watching this. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them there. We have another Learn with the Nerds session coming up here soon, Marshall. This is going to be on Power BI developers use with Fabric. So lots of cool stuff around that. If you are a BI developer, you're going to want to catch that session also. It's an amazing session. Manuel is awesome at doing these on Fabric. He's been done some good work around there as well. All right. Well, thank you so much for attending this session and dealing with my personality this early in the morning for those West Coasters, or late in the afternoon for you European folks. Thank you so much for watching us today and being so participatory. We have had 400 comments and questions in the chat window. So thank you so much today for participating. Hope to see you on the web, and make sure you tune this channel for future videos like this, as this is a fast developing product. Thanks so much. Have a great day.